All right, hola, hola, buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our very first Bulletproof Mindset Summit series. And guys, seriously, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have our very first expert guest guru and talk about get your mind right. This amazing coach, mentor, friend is here today to grace us with his presence. And I'm going to give you a little quick introduction. So Todd Durkin is a world-class coach, trainer, author, and speaker who changes lives every single day. He's the epitome of get your mind right and some of the most positive and energetic people you will ever meet. He is a founder of Fitness Quest 10 in Scripps Ranch, San Diego. He trains dozens of current NFL and MLB athletes, including future Hall of Famer Drew Brees and a host of other active players. His long client list includes Reggie Bush, Aaron Rodgers, Carson Palmer, and Tony Gwynn Jr., amongst others. Todd was a finalist on the primetime network show NBC STRONG, which is now streaming on Netflix. He is a past recipient of the Jack LaLanne Award for Lifetime Achievement in the fitness field, is a two-time Trainer of the Year, and an International Fitness Presenter of the Year, amongst many other accolades. His third book, Get Your Mind Right, came out in 2020 and is changing thousands of lives. His other book, The Impact Body Plan, and the Wow book have been read by tens of thousands of people and have impacted many lives. Todd Durkin is popular on social media and delivers daily messages on Instagram and Facebook. His podcast, The Todd Durkin Impact Show, is designed to motivate and inspire anyone looking to create more impact in their life. He's been married to his beautiful wife, Melanie, for 19 years, and they have 3 kids, 17, 15, and 12. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please let me welcome Todd Durkin right here. Gotta give a hoodie.
Got the gray hoodie on and everything, Elizabeth. Man, what an introduction. Thank you. It is awesome to be here. Love the music, by the way. Love the Rocky music. And I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy for you. Proud of you. What an awesome thing you're doing with this summit. And I just want to serve today. I want to get someone better. I'm not sure who exactly is going to be listening that's going to get impacted today. But thank you for being here. And Elizabeth, thank you for what you're doing just to create, impact in the universe and all the great things that you are doing all over the place. So I can't wait to get rolling. Whatever you got, I'm ready for.
Let's do this. Before we dive in, Todd, I want to acknowledge you and share with you why I have chosen you to be part of this first Bulletproof Mindset Summit series. I've known you since 2017 when I joined the mastermind, actually the 3.5-day mastermind that you have for everyone, right? Yep. And you have a way with speaking to our souls. And every single day on social media, whether it be the emails, whether it be the messages through text, you speak to us and you let us know that yes, life is difficult and tough, especially now, but there is room to grow and there is room to condition the mindset. There is room to really take care of that dome, what's in between our ears, and you epitomize that. Every single day you take action, you those wakey, good morning, get those sleepies out of your eyes. And it motivates us, your fire-breathing dragons, to continue pushing on and pushing forward no matter what. You allowed us to see who we are, to dig deep into our passion and our purpose to help and serve others. You're a godly man. You share your spirit and your soul. And that in turn allows us to be able to share that legacy that you are instilling in
Mm,
us into other
wow.
people.
Well, thank you for those beautiful words, Elizabeth. I every day try to show up and ask God the question, like, how can I best serve today? How can I best serve those who may need to hear some hope, inspiration, motivation? That's what I want today to be. Is wherever this is going to go, what direction it takes us. Is I want to make sure that I can speak from the heart. I do believe that everyone does have a soul print. We always talk about fingerprints. You have a fingerprint. I believe people have a soul print because as spiritual beings, I'm always like, well, what's your soul print? What can you leave on this earth that is special? Not just your fingerprints, because those fingerprints will soon wear off, but your soul print is your spirit, and your spirit is going to live forever. And your forever soul print is your legacy. So we talk about legacy. We talk about asking the big questions. And now's a perfect time as we record this here in mid-December. You talk about, really thinking macro and what are we going to do in 2021 to live our best life? And, what is God calling you to do? And, I know we're going to get into some of this, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but thank you for your words. And I just implore anyone that if you're scared today, if you're down today, if you're in fear today, if you're stressed today, is to get up. Is if you're hurting physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, is that you're built for times like this. We're going to get through this, and that there's something special inside of you where your burdens sometimes become your biggest blessings. Let me
Ooh,
repeat, your burdens sometimes become your biggest blessings. So if you're burdened today, possibly open your arms and welcome in the burden, and let's say, hey, teach me something today, burden. How can I be a better man or a better woman or a better mother or a better father? And I know it stinks. No one wants to go through the tough times, but this is going to strengthen me, and I'm going to come out on the other side even better for it.
Todd, God designed you for what you do. He
Hmm.
really did. And it's such a blessing to have you and be my coach or mentor because you light me up. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
TD, before we begin and also dive in, everyone, you guys know that we are helping and supporting Todd with the Durkin Impact Foundation. It's a time to give, especially now, the spirit of giving and serving. And the summit is free, but I want to give back. And
Mm.
Todd, you've given us back so much that I want to help you as well to try to raise as much funds as we can. Can you share a little bit about what the Durkin Impact Foundation is and how it was established?
Of course. And thank you for that, Elizabeth. Thank you for any of the proceeds and funds from this summit going to the Impact Foundation. Let me ask y'all a question. Is if I was to ask you, what is that rhetorical question that you continue to ask yourself that, man, if I was to play at another level, I would do this. If I
Ooh,
could do something that I was really called to do, I would do this. What does it mean to go to another level? See, back in 2010, 2011, about a decade ago, I kept asking myself, man, how can I play to another level? How can I give back more? And I kept asking myself, like, I wanted to play at a higher level. And I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was already successful as a trainer and a coach, a business owner, and
yeah.
that. But I felt like there was more that I could do to give back. And it wasn't just here in San Diego. It was just on a more global basis. And I got this seed planted in me. Like I wanted to someday have a foundation, but I didn't even know what that foundation looked like. I just knew that I wanted to give back. And someday when I was a gray old man, I want to spend more time coaching in the mastermind and giving, back to my philanthropic desires. Lo and behold, a couple years later, 2012, October 29th, to be exact, Hurricane Sandy hit the eastern seaboard, specifically Hurricane Sandy devastated my hometown back in Brick, New Jersey. Millions of dollars of damage, lives were lost. And specifically, I've got five sisters. Two of my sisters were displaced. Many of my friends growing up were displaced. My high school basketball coach, he passed away from a tragic accident during Hurricane Sandy. Well, I remember sitting in my office thinking, man, what can I do? What can I do? And I mean, cell phones were out. I mean, you couldn't contact your family. And I felt helpless and hopeless. I was like, what can I do? And there was nothing I could do other than pray. And all of a sudden, God spoke to me, said, we talk about burdens becoming blessings. He put on me, this is the start of what's going to be the Durkin Impact Foundation.
Mm.
And I had this embryonic moment where I said, okay, we're going to create the foundation, the Durkin Impact Foundation. We're going to raise funds and give back 100% of those funds to those families in need right now. And I got with one of my clients, Drew Brees, who has the Brees Dream Foundation.
Yeah.
And in that time, in a matter of weeks, we raised $75,000 through the Impact Foundation and gave 100% of that money back to families in need. And the feeling of fulfillment in a time of disaster, I knew that was my calling and that was what I was supposed to do to help. And since 2012, when the Impact Foundation was started, it's a 501c3, and it took a few months to actually form because of the legal aspects of it. I proudly state today that we've given over $250,000 to families in need and high school student athletes who desire to go get a higher education, but don't have the funds to do so. So we've had over 30 high school student athletes that wanted to go away to school. We've helped fund their educations and help many families in need. And it's what my wife and I do now as part of our overall purpose and mission. It's many people have helped contribute. And it's one of my life's callings is to someday give way back more than what I've ever received. And that's what the Durkin Impact Foundation is all about.
I absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it, like you said, is helping a ton of people, and even more so now during these unprecedented times. And, as the holidays are coming, if we are able to do that and help in any which way we can, we will. When we give, remember, it's not about us, guys. It's not about us. It's about serving other people. And there's this quote, I forget who says it, but it's just embedded in my brain, that the rent that we pay here on earth is the service that we give to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Give more, you will receive more. So I'm telling you guys, whatever you guys can, donate and help for this amazing and incredible cause.
One other thing too, I'd mention whether you can give or not. Thank you for being here. And two, if you can help spread the word about the foundation, because perhaps right now a high school senior who desires to go to college next year, they can apply. This is a nationwide across the entire U.S. It's not just any other. It's a global. At least it's United States. If you know a high school senior, and God bless those seniors right now, it's been the craziest year of these seniors' lives. Right, I have a high school senior right now, and they've been robbed of a lot of things. So we actually are looking to double down on the scholarship that we can give to students across the nation this year. So even if you know someone who will be in need this coming spring, right after the first of the year on todddurkin.com, we'll have our applications for scholarships go up. So even if you can help spread the word about the Durkin Impact Foundation and the scholarships we give, that'd be great, because the more scholarship applications that we receive, that just brightens up the pot and spreads the word about what we do. So thank you for that. Even if you can do that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Awesome. Yes, please spread the word. Let's do this. Positive,
Let's
baby.
go.
Positive. All right, TD. So, okay, first and foremost, guys, I love being authentic. I love being real. So we had recorded previously. Okay. Didn't work out. Get this, guys. Todd has surgery. Second time surgery on his other knee. All right. And this man right here, talk about conviction, talk about commitment, talk about honoring your word to this Latina over here, said, let's do it again, but I'm having surgery. And I thought he was going to be in his lazy boy chair this morning, and he surprised me. He's standing up. Todd.
This is my first time like standing for longer than a few minutes at a time. So all in the name of greatness, baby.
So I just want to acknowledge you on that as well, because, and guys listening out here, we can make all these excuses. We can. Oh, I can't because of this or but we choose to. So what are you choosing today, and how are you stepping into yourself, and how are you showing up to you, right?
Well, kudos to you, Elizabeth, because when you asked me to do this, of course, the answer is yes. If any way we can give back and raise money for the foundation and help people out, create impact, then the answer is yes. So we recorded this originally just a couple days before my knee surgery. I had a partial knee replacement, and I was like, "Listen, we got to do it before December the 5th," and we did. And I said, "Because after the December 5th, I'm not going to be good until after the first of the year." Well, we had some technical Wi-Fi issues, like everyone else in 2020, par for the course. So when
Yeah.
she told me it didn't work out so well, I said, "Listen, I'll do it from the lazy boy, whatever it takes. I might be on like Norco or painkillers." So I got off all that stuff. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to roll, and all in the name of greatness, baby.
I was like, give me more. Todd's gonna be great, great. Let me see what he gets. But let's dive in. Let's dive into this question. So I think it's so important to really get to know someone from like how they grew up, where they grew up, their roots, because it really allows us to tap into who we are and where we came from.
Mhm.
Can you take us back to memory lane on how you grew up, those core values with your parents? Take us back.
Mhm. Yeah, and folks, as you're listening in, I don't know if you can see Elizabeth. If you're watching the video, you can. But if you're just listening, you're out for a walk, run, working out, listening into this. Elizabeth has a shirt on with my favorite saying. It says, "Live a life worth telling a story about." And on the back of that shirt, it says, "What's your story?" See, I believe each and every one of us have a unique story. And where we come from the time of birth all the way through who we are today, is a special, unique story. It's actually a gift. And although it's sometimes paved with lots of scars and bad memories, I think everything that we've been through, good and bad, is a part of who we are today. And to answer your question, Elizabeth, I'm blessed to have 7 brothers and sisters. Yes, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and I have 5 sisters. And I grew up back in New Jersey, a place called Brick, as I mentioned. And mom and dad got divorced when I was 5. And I hated that because I wanted that perfect family, right? Like, it's just like white picket fence, perfect family. I wanted to be that star athlete. When mom and dad got divorced when I was a young kid, we didn't have a lot of money. And I remember times were very tough. My mom was a stay-at-home nurse. My father, who moved away, wasn't in my life very much from 5 to 10. I was a pretty tough kid. I get in fights all the time and a scrappy little kid, but I fell in love with sports, and sports was my outlet to aggressiveness and to finding some purpose. And I found success through sport. And as I was getting older and older, my dad came back into my life at the age of 10, and he asked me if I would consider playing football, basketball, and baseball in addition to soccer. And I was at the time at 10 years old, very formative time of a kid's life when they're 10. I was having so much success in soccer that I really didn't want to play other sports, but he asked me to try it. And I tried it, and I fell in love with the sports and found a lot of success in sports, and soon realized that, hey, if I want to get college paid for, because I didn't have, again, we didn't have a lot of money, and having 8 kids isn't easy. I would have to get a scholarship. And I had a mentor in my life going into high school named Warren Wolf. Coach Wolf became like a second father to me. And we had a lot of success in football, a storied high school football program, one of the winningest programs in the country. And I was the second kid in 50 years to start as a true freshman. And I had a lot of scholarship offers coming out of high school as a quarterback. And I ultimately decided on a great academic institution called William and Mary, where I was a captain and a quarterback. And, um, you know, the first 18 years of my life, I look back, and there were times early on when you don't know when you're growing up if you're poor. You don't really know that. You just feel love, or you feel, you feel hate, or you feel not loved and apart. And the only thing I can tell you is I remember feeling so much love from my mom. My mom she's a saint. My mom is still living. She's 87 years old. And could you imagine raising kids, 8 kids, and and your ex-husband, or, isn't really in your life because he moved away, and the love that my mom gave to our family is a huge part of who I am today. The empathy, the compassion, the conviction I have to give it back is no doubt from my mom. My drive and ambition and my drive for success is from my father, but the heart is from my mom, because my mom is the most loving woman you could possibly meet. So as a father now, I'm greatly impacted by both of my parents, although they became friends and lived amicably after when I was age 10. It was certainly both of their influences influenced me to this day of who I am as a dad of 3 kids, as a husband to my wife Melanie, and how I live now as a leader, as a coach, as a trainer. Because I think it's a balance of who you are, and if there's things you don't like, you got to change them. If there's things that you love, you really accentuate your strengths, your strengths of who you are as a person. So that's kind of like the early days growing up. But I was that lunch ticket kid who was embarrassed that I was poor, and I was like, I'm not gonna raise my kids someday like this. I'm worth more than this. I know I can create something special with my life. So it's apropos that you're wearing that shirt, Live a Life Worth Telling a Story About. And although my story's not done, I'm not even halfway through it.
Yeah.
I'm very, very blessed for my childhood, because while I was growing up, it didn't seem necessarily ideal. Looking back, it made me the man who I am today.
I absolutely love that. And I can see when you're talking about being that heart center and you get it from your mom, and that hustle and drive, getting that from your dad. I think it's so important to like take a moment to tell the parents, our parents, like, you guys are freaking amazing. You did incredible. And, call your parents today and say, thank you. I love you, because
Hmm.
we don't do that. We don't do that often, right? And I think it's so important. And as parents today, right? And if you're out there, you're watching, right? And if you're a parent, I think we want our kids to be proud of us too. As
Hmm.
much as our kids want to be proud of them, we want to have them be proud of us too.
Yeah. I'm not sure those of you who are listening in, this is kind of a deep thought, a weird thought, but every time I have a conversation with my mom now, I always ask myself, is this the last time I'm going to talk with her?
Oh,
It's kind of my own internal dialogue, because every time I see her, I'm like, was it in the last 5 years? I'm like, will this be the last time I see mom? Is this the last time I'm ever going to talk to mom? And although she's had health problems, she's relatively healthy. It's a
yes.
thought to myself is to be very, very present in the conversation with mom or whoever. It's like, how do you slow down enough to actually enjoy a conversation with someone so that you're actually talking and listening and not just thinking about what your response is going to say to someone. And with my mom, there's not a phone call that goes by now that I just don't smile from the inside out and literally hang up that phone thinking, God, I'm blessed. I'm so blessed to still have my mom. Again, she's 87 years old, lives in Florida. She can't travel now because all of the COVID stuff going on. And, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. So to your point, whether your parents are still living or you're young, your young kid listening as mom and dad are part of this summit, is man, you got to slow down to appreciate all who are still in our life, because we don't want to take a single day for granted. That's for darn sure. We all know that. This year reminded every one of us about that.
Ooh, yeah. You know what? It's funny. You just said something and reminded me of something that about listening to people, right? When we have those conversations, that
Mm-hmm.
to listen with the intent to truly listen to someone's story, and not to listen with the intent to reply
Yep.
and be fully present. And it's so true, just like talking to our parents, and sometimes they, go back to the old stories. But although they talk about the old stories, really, like, hone it in and take it in, because it's powerful if they're talking about it. So listen with the intent to really listen, not to the intent to reply back. So I just wanted to chime in on that one, because I was like, that's
True.
so true.
Love
Little
it.
takeaway on that one. But Todd, we all talk about the great positive things in our life, our success stories, right? We rarely see the late nights, the grinding, getting up early in the morning, maybe 3 hours of sleep. We rarely talk about that emotional, mental, physical, spiritual battle that goes through our life when we're trying to build something, or just building on ourselves, right? And that little inner voice, I call it the inner annoying roommate that's just in there sometimes, that's trying to sabotage us from great things. Has there ever been a moment, a defining moment, one or two in your life, that there has been those battles in your mind trying to derail you from your greatness?
Mm. Oh yeah. I mean, there's more than one or two.
Yeah.
uh, right. I mean, honestly, I always said this is the secret of your success is found in your daily routine.
Oh,
The
yeah.
secret of your success is found in your daily routine. And I'm one who's always tried to dial in my own best habits and what can I do to be, living with my best habits, because I know that over time habits become wins and become a routine, and that allows you to succeed. Of course, there's been a lot of times, I think sometimes life throws you curveballs. I think some of the greatest curveballs I've been thrown that have derailed me, so to speak, was when I was 20 years old. Um, I was in college, and my father, who had come back into my life at age 10 and became my best friend, my mentor, my biggest cheerleader, my biggest fan, a best friend. I mean, my dad influenced me greatly between age 10 and 20.
Wow.
And my father, who had suffered from heart disease, he had a massive heart attack and he passed away. And it was the first time in my life, age 20, when I absolutely got rocked. Here I am at college. I'm a junior in college. I'm competing for a starting quarterback job.
Mm.
And now all of a sudden I get this phone call when I'm in a kinesiology class that my father back in New Jersey suffered this heart attack. And I remember for the first time in my life, football, nothing else mattered. I didn't care. School, I didn't care. And I'm burying my father, and I didn't even want to go back to school. I didn't want to go compete for a job, which I compete for my whole life. That was my dream. And that rocked me for months and months and months. Now, 6 weeks after his death, I decided to go back to school and go back and go back and play football and everything else. But let me tell you, sometimes life is hard. And I wanted to stay down. I considered getting in a car, just driving across the country from the East Coast to the West Coast and getting lost for a while and finding myself. I questioned my faith for the first time ever. And looking back, my faith ultimately became stronger by questioning my faith.
Ooh.
My conviction for who I am became stronger because of the questions I asked myself of how dare God take my father from me at the age of 20 when it was such an important time of my life. And there was so much internalization going on that I had to ask myself some really deep questions about who am I? And ultimately I came out a lot stronger. And I guess the second thing I'll share on that, and then we could talk about it, is just a few years later, I was playing professional football overseas. I was in France at the time, and that was my goal, was I want to be an NFL quarterback. And from the time I was 5 until then I was 25, I was playing, and I was in Aix-en-Provence, France. And as a quarterback, I did this hook slide to avoid getting hit. And these two linebackers came in and took their helmet and drove it into my back. And although I had already had 5 concussions in my life and sprained and strained every ligament, muscle, tendon of my body, literally, I had never felt pain like that. And I knew something about that injury was way different. I remember lying motionless on a football field in Aix-en-Provence, France. I remember being scared. I didn't know if I was paralyzed, but I couldn't move. I remember trainers coming out over top me and saying, what's going on? And I couldn't even explain the feeling throughout my entire body. Long story short, I herniated 3 discs in my back, was diagnosed with stenosis and degenerative back disease. And the doctor and friend said, does he have a back problem? The football career is over. And I was like,
No.
I was like, no. And here I am. I'm in this studio apartment in Cannes, France, where I lived. And I was all alone. TV was in French. It was like a 600 square foot studio. And they just told me my career ended. And I'm like, wait a second. That's all I ever dreamt of doing, was being a pro athlete. And although I had my degree and certifications, the only thing I put my mind to was that. And it was a really, really dark, lonely time. And once again, I asked myself, like, what's the next chapter going to be? Who am I going to become? How am I going to take my quote football career and parlay it into the next thing I did? And honestly, it was pretty rough, Elizabeth, because here I am, I'm on Vicodin. I had a nurse come into my condo twice a day to shoot me up with painkillers and anti-inflammatories. I couldn't even fly home back to the States because I couldn't sit upright for 8 hours on a plane. So I'm hobbling to PT after a few weeks. And I did a lot of soul searching, And it took me months and months after I flew back, 3 months after the injury to New Jersey, of what do I want to do? And it took me 5 years, a very windabout road of healing my own back pain without having a back surgery,
Oh,
that ultimately, looking back, interesting enough, looking back, the story is beautiful, because I realized what God was doing was giving me all these lessons so that someday when I became a trainer, coach, had a gym where I trained and worked with the highest level athletes in the world, I realized everything I'd been through, all the pain, physical, emotional, spiritual pain, was preparing me for my next phase in life. Because this 5-year journey where I lived in 13 different cities in 5 years, and slept on couches of mentors and gurus who I wanted to learn from, and was just a vagabond for 5 years from 25 to 30, literally was the greatest lesson of my life. And it was all becoming part of my dream, which ultimately in year 2000, I opened my studio, Fitness Quest 10, with no money, no clients, no business plan, just a passion, pure passion to help people become better. And those two things, the death of my dad and my back injury, I'd say are two circumstances that derailed me majorly from the routine that I was in, and forced me to go deep inside my spirit and soul and ask myself, what's the next chapter in your life? What are you going to do with yourself? I designed you to be special. What gifts are you going to use that I've given you that you can now put into the next chapter of your life? So I know that's a long answer, but those are two important parts of who I am today, that happened many, many moons ago.
it's an amazing answer, Todd. I'm going to ask you this question, and it just popped in right now because you have Luke, who just got signed with Davidson and is
Mm-hmm.
playing football. Knowing your experience of what you went through and your injuries and all that, what is that conversation that you have with him now as he's diving into this journey of something he absolutely loves and he's passionate about?
Mm. The greatest lesson I learned from my father was the gift of time.
Ooh.
The gift of time. And the reason I say that is because when I was in college, my father wrote me a handwritten letter every single day from my freshman year till the time he died. As a matter of fact, I got a handwritten letter from him after he died because he wrote it the day before he died. So when I got back from his funeral and everything else, weeks after his funeral, I had a handwritten letter in my mailbox from him every single day. Imagine that. I can't imagine texting someone every single day for 3+ years, every day. And I never got that silver smile where you open up the mailbox and there's nothing there. The value of time, the gift of time. Even though Luke will be leaving us to go to Davidson down in North Carolina next fall to play football and be a student there, I certainly haven't waited until this time to really cherish the time with my kids. I've always been very dialed into, it's not about anything but time. So Luke, Brady, and McKenna, I've coached them my entire life. I coach them now, Luke and Brady, in football. I've spent a lot of time with them. I have Adventure Sundays with McKenna.
Yes, I
Um,
love that, by the way.
and it's hard as a parent, and those parents that are listening in, it's like, man, there's always work to be done. And listen, I love work. I love to work. I would work 7 days a week. And sometimes I've been guilty of that, but man, oh man, there's nothing like the value and gift of time with your kids. So I constantly remind myself of that importance, that nothing will replace that. And although I dread the day when Luke is down at Davidson, because he'll no longer be here in our home and have dinner with us all the time, I'm actually really excited for him, because I do know that it's the next evolution in his own growth and development as a young man on that. So I'm sure the conversations coming up over the next few months are going to be around character and doing the right thing, and nothing good happens after midnight, and all these things that parents tell their kids and are reminded of constantly if you read the paper or listen to the news and everything else. But it's always coming back to the man you are, and faith, and doing the right thing.
I love that. And Todd, we go back to your surgery during
Mm,
this pandemic and talking about time.
Mm.
And where was your mindset, right? Because there's so much things that are shifting, and businesses, Fitness Quest 10 gyms, either shutting down or partially having their gyms outside. Knowing that you were getting the surgery, what was your mindset behind it? Because you have to continually, you get to lead your coaches, you get to lead your community. How did it feel like you cannot leave, at least for a certain amount of time, your house and do what you do on a daily basis and staying active and running and all that good stuff during this pandemic and having your surgery?
Yeah, it's funny we're doing this conversation now again for the second time, because my answer today is going to be different than it was a few weeks ago. Right now, I am about 11 days post-surgery, right? So I'm 11 days post-surgery. And what I would say is this: since March up until December 5th, when I had surgery, it was a massive 9-month sprint, and I was completely exhausted, completely energetically exhausted from giving 7 days a week, gyms drowning, people drowning. And I literally have been living by the mission: save lives, change lives, create impact. Save lives, change lives, create impact. Every morning I'd wake up, save lives, change lives, create impact. And that's been the mission. And without this surgery, I would not have slowed down, because you talk about mission driven. I wasn't slowing down. And while that's good, it's also bad, because my wife reminded me about a month before the surgery. She's like, you have to get the surgery now. It's 2020. It's apropos. You're hurting. You're in pain. You can't sleep. You're in order for you to do your best work, you got to take care of yourself. And she implored me to do the surgery. And I finally listened to her, like whenever I'm smart, I do. And I scheduled the surgery.
It's like, yes, Todd.
And let me tell you what, like, that's been the impetus. Was this surgery is way different than it was 2 years ago, because energetically, like, I didn't even know how tired I was until after surgery. I have been drained energetically like I've never been drained before, because sometimes you don't even know how tired you are until you actually slow down.
That's what I was gonna say. Yes.
Like you slow down, and finally it hits you like a ton of bricks. So while my knee is actually doing way better than my previous knee surgery, my energy is taking longer to recover. Like I said, literally, this is the first time I've been on my feet since the surgery on December 5th. And I keep trying to, quote, push myself to feel better. And I literally woke up this morning knowing we're going to do this. I was like, okay, this is good. This is kind of my first real thing like I'm going to do in the time that we have. But energetically, it's 9 months of sprinting. And the reminder is this, I guess I'll share with you, is we don't really want to wait 9 months to take care of yourself or slow down. I was actually looking forward to the surgery, to going deep in what we call tap into the whispers. I haven't been even fully able to tap into all of the whispers yet, because I've been in such healing mode physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, from the last 9 months of an all out warfare about, with everything going on, that I'm just now starting to feel like, okay, with my journal open and everything that I'm doing and have been doing. And that is, let me really go deep into what's God calling me to do next in this chapter. So it's pretty cool that we're doing this after the fact now, because I would have been able to give you that insight obviously before December 5th, because I didn't know how I would feel. And now, in the last 11 days or so, it's like, okay, it takes a lot of energy for the body to heal. It takes a lot of time and energy for the body to heal. And you have to allow for that, because if you don't, you end up hurting. And I'm permitting and allowing my body to heal. And if it takes longer than I expect, then that's okay. But I'm going to heal fully. I'm going to come out of this fully recharged, so that when going into 2021, I'm ready for the next chapter, then the next battle for what we're doing. So I permit, please, any one of you who need to slow down, not necessarily you don't need surgery to slow down. That's my point. You don't need surgery to slow down. Permit yourself a few days, a long weekend, to turn everything off and to get your mind right, to get your body right, and take care of yourself, because ultimately it's for the long haul, not for the short haul, that we have to be great.
Yeah, it's so true. You say that all the time, and you gotta slow down in order to go faster.
That's right.
100%.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I admire about you, Todd, is that you shift so quickly. When uncertain times come your way, you know how to shift abruptly, with your coaches, with the gym, the way you coach us, every single thing. And do you think that sometimes it's okay not to shift too quickly and stay in it, or do you think it requires us to take action so fast, especially like now? What have you done? What has
Yeah.
worked for you?
It's a good question. Number one, I don't think you have to shift or pivot quickly. I don't think you just change to change. I think right now many people are pivoting, quote, pivoting or changing because they have to. So I get that, understand that. But I think sometimes it behooves us to actually slow down and get a hold of going back to the macro. What's my purpose?
Mm.
What am I designed to do? And how can I best get there? And if how you can best get there is different than how you're doing things today, then you've got to involve change in getting to where you want to go. But if you just change because times are tough or finances are low or because everyone else is going online or whatever it is, then that would be the wrong reason to just react. You don't want to react to everything going on or react to what other people are doing. You want to be able to respond based on your what I call your GSD, your God-sized dream, on your divine purpose of what is you're supposed to do. So I do think it's really important that you slow down enough to think about, is this the right thing for me to change or evolve into? I think it's really wise to talk to mentors and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Am I making sense of this? Because trust me, there are things that I'm looking at changing and pivoting coming up in 2021 in my own life. And I'll ask my mentors of like, hey, am I being crazy? Is this really what I want to do? And they'll ask me the same thing. Todd, I'm going to speak your language now. What's God telling you to do?
Yeah.
Are you praying about it? What's God telling you to do? And if you continually journal, meditate, or pray on what is God telling you to do right now, and if you're obedient to that, then that's the answer, regardless of what other people are going to say, because sometimes all of us worry too much about what other people think. What are other people going to think if I do this? That's garbage. That's too much head trash. Like, why are we worried about what everyone else is going to think if that's ultimately not what you want to do? Do what you want to do or need to do if that's what your purpose is. But if what you're doing is based on your validation from other people, that'll never make you happy because people ultimately will always let you down. So we don't want to be let down by other people's validation because after all, these are people who are going through the same thing. You can't put your validation in the people. You ultimately have to live your God's, your divine purpose, what God has ordained you to do. And then you go out and share that with the world. And people who are going to validate you are going to validate you because you're living your best life because of the gifts that you have been designed with.
That's so true. I think so many of us look for validations and affirmations through what we pretend to look like through a phone, right? And it's not that. When you know who you are, society, social media will not get into your mindset. So know who you are. If not, society is going to dictate who you should be. So
Right.
know thyself, like huge. And I think it's pouring into yourself too, right? And Todd, you've been in this, I call it life transforming industry, life transforming industry, for many, many, many years. And you pour your heart, your soul into so many of us globally. And I know that we all get tapped out. And I know that I do as a coach, and then we pour, pour, pour. How do you get poured into when you feel like, all right, the tank is getting kind of low, I need to refuel? What do you do to refuel that tank, to get that energy at a 10? No, I think you're at 100. I'm
Well, again, I go back to habits because you never want to get so low that you're completely shot. And again, thankfully, even with the knee surgery I just had, that ultimately is going to re-energize me, ultimately. But you've got to slow down right now to get back to that point. But how do I normally do it? it's going to sound rhetorical here, but working out. When I work out, I get energized because physically, when you are working out and all of the chemicals that are released in your body and in your brain get your mind right. So I don't care if you're a trainer listening today, if you're a fitness enthusiast, weekend warrior who loves life, we train and exercise not to look a certain way, at least me. I train to make sure that I can feel a certain way, that I could be on point, that I can be the difference between average and I can really be what I call the dialed in to that 1% where I feel all of a sudden I'm poignant with my thoughts and I'm clear with my thoughts and I can move and feel good. So exercise, getting out in nature, lifting weights, exerting yourself is really, really healthy and allows me to find the energy for how I want to live life. And the second thing is prayer. Is I could work out every day and I could physically feel good, but if I don't nourish myself spiritually, then I'm not filled up. Now, folks, just so you know, sometimes you're a man of faith. Guys, I don't pray for an hour a day and sit here and study the word all day long. I think sometimes people think, well, if you're a man or woman of faith and you've got to spend all this time, I think a lot of times my conversations will come with God in just random times between sets in a workout. When I'm driving, I'll turn the radio off and I'll just pray when I'm doing that. Or if I'm out for a walk with Jersey. Yes, I do sit here in my home office for a few minutes each morning and I'll journal and I'll read a devotional and I'll do some scripture. But it's not about like this formal practice where you got to spend 30 minutes or an hour every single day reading the word, although that is great. What I find is it's more of a relationship. And for me personally, it's talking to God throughout the day in a relationship. Like I'd be talking with my wife or with my kids or anyone who I have a relationship with. That fuels me. So in the middle of a day, if I'm struggling, I'm like, God, man, you got to help me right now. I'm down. I got to get up for this talk or this podcast or this whatever I'm doing. And all of a sudden I hear, you got this. Let's go, baby. Remember what you're playing for. Is that me or is that God? Whose voice is that? Well, if there's a relationship going on, I hear that. That's my spirit talking to me. Like, come on, T, we got this, baby. Let's go. To me, that's God talking to me saying, let's go. Remember why you're playing the game. Remember your purpose. You got this. So to me, it's always been the training and the spiritual part, the prayer part that fuels me up, and also staying aligned. Just so if you're aligned with your purpose, that fuels you. But if you're fighting for the wrong thing, that's draining. If you're not in the right line of work, if you're not on a daily basis serving or giving back in some way, like for me, when I was talking about earlier on, like, save lives, change lives, create impact, been very, very servant mode. As a matter of fact, like there are trainers and people who like look at their bank account and everything. Honestly, this is I don't know if it's good or bad to say, but like I haven't even looked at my bank account because I don't care. Like right now, I just want to train people. I just want to train people. I don't care if I'm below zero. I don't care if I'm above zero. It's not about money. It is about changing lives. And that's for me right now. It's that serve, 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 serve. And God is always going to provide. He's always going to provide. And I've always lived my life like that, but even more so over the last 9 months and going into 2021, the question I'm asking myself is, God, how can I play deeper? How can I play bigger? You use me however you want to use me right now because I'm ready to roll. Or whatever you want me to do, I'm obedient. And the word I keep hearing is trust me, trust me, trust me. Those are the words I'm hearing. But how hard is it when you hear those words to actually trust? Like, that's what I'm hearing. I'm like, wait, God, is that you? Or like, I don't know. Should I really trust you?
What?
So that's kind of the inside of what's going on with my head and my heart and my soul and everything. But that's also right now what's fueling me getting ready for 2021.
Guys, if you have not followed Todd, you guys should, because you should see his crazy workouts in the morning of just getting your mind right. And it's so true, Todd, how important moving our bodies is and what it does to our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're feeling, especially now in this pandemic, we're working from home and on the computer and sitting here and then going from our desk to the couch and just like eating and trying to fuel that empty void, right? That when you're feeling mentally drained, mentally, emotionally drained and tapped out, do something physically strong.
Yep.
Even if it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but to get moving, like it does something to your body. I was listening to your podcast this morning, by the way, because I was getting pumped up, just so you know.
Yeah.
And you were talking about what the body does and the personal care and the dopamines and what it releases. Like, what does it do to you when you do that? Because you get so hyped. You're like, I got this. Yes, you get the mind right. It's true. And so move more, guys.
Yeah.
And not make those excuses. You had surgery, and I saw you in one of your posts. You could have said, I'm not going to work out and because I just had surgery or whatever. Guys, Todd was outside with his kids. He was on a chair. Our farm, baby. Our farm, baby.
That was it. Hey, my kids challenged me. They truth be told, 3 days after surgery, my kids challenged me. They're like, "Hey, Dad, you're looking like you're like an old man in that chair. You're looking like you're gonna get a dad bod." I'm like, "Whoa!" So I hobble back out there, and next thing I know, I'm curling. It wasn't very much weight, but I was out there moving. And honestly, I was moving just because I wanted to get all the junk out of my body and system from from surgery. So. And what I would say is this, Elizabeth, and I've seen your social media too, and I've seen your clients running up that hill, and I'm like, dang, that is so amazing. Like that puke hill or whatever you have over there, it's amazing, yeah. Right? It's a great hill. But here's the thing, I'm finding a lot of people right now, you exercise, you train, which we must do. That's mandatory. Right now, I'm going to implore everyone, double down on your personal care. You got to be training. But if you still are doing that and you feel empty on the inside, if you feel empty, so you might be training and physically you're like, you know what, I'm getting rid of stress, I feel better. If you feel empty, that's where the other part comes in. That's where the soul searching comes in. That's where you talk to an Elizabeth or a coach or a mentor and you answer those big questions about, hey, what is God calling me to do? How can I play at a deeper level? Because when you're in line with your purpose and you're living that purpose, then you'll feel more fulfilled. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to live a life where you are in fulfillment. It's not about achievement, right? It's about fulfillment. So to me, if anyone is feeling empty today, go out and exercise, get out in nature, and ask yourself those questions about what can I do to play at a bigger level? What can I do to live more in line with my purpose? How can I serve my people even greater today? What can I do? It doesn't mean you need to change occupations, careers, or jobs. I'm not saying you should even leave your job. I'm just saying, how do you do your job even better? But you're all into your job and you're all in and you're all in, you're all in. I believe your purpose ultimately dictates the course. And whether that's in the job that you're doing or that takes you in a direction a little bit different than the compass is right now, that's okay. But I believe it's really being in point with how can I best serve? What can I do to live my best life? And when you do that and you stay dialed in and focused because you have the discipline, which is hard to do. Most people don't have the discipline to do what needs to be done when you don't feel like doing it. And that's an answer to one of your earlier questions way back in the beginning was talking about habits is you got to have the discipline to do it when it's cold, when it's rainy, when you don't feel like doing it, you put on that hoodie and you go. And you just find a way. And next thing you know, you feel a little bit better. You don't feel sorry for yourself and you don't feel as average. And you just say, you know what, I'm going to get this one thing done today that's going to make a difference. And then you do it. So ask yourself this question. What's the one thing you can do today that's going to make a difference in the world today? Ooh. If there's something you're doing right now that's not going to matter in 3 months, and stop doing it. If there's something in right now that you're doing that's not going to matter in 3 months, and don't do it. Take it off the list. Don't do it. Don't spend time on it. Spend time on things that are going to matter. The conversations that matter, the people who matter, and the projects that you're working on. The projects that you're working on, spend time on doing things that matter the most.
And less on what doesn't.
That's right.
For sure. Yeah, in your book, the Get Your Mind Right. Okay, by the way, I love how you structured everything. I mean, football. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter literally is by far the best. All right.
I'm a football guy. What do you expect?
So in the first quarter, key 2, you talked about your thoughts ultimately determine your legacy and making sure that your worst enemy doesn't live in between your 2 ears. Can you talk about those, how important that is? Not allowing anything bad in your dome.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Especially nowadays.
Exactly.
Things are going to be negative that come in your mind. Acknowledge that. You're going to hear what you ingest. You must be careful of. So one of my rules is I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news because I feel if it's that important, I'm going to ultimately find out about it. So there are people, and even if you watch the news, don't like, oh, I'm bad or that. just don't watch the news over and over again. I know people sitting in their house that watch the news all day long. That's depressing. That's negative. There's nothing good on the news. There's also people who do nothing but talk about that C word all the time. They're just constantly talking about it. It's draining. It energetically drains you. Everything has a positive or negative force. There are words that you say. If you repeat these words after me, there'll be a positive reaction that happens. Extraordinary, magnificent, incredible, super fantastic, beautiful, awesome, great. Those words all lift up your energy vibration. If I say the other words, they're going to bring you down. So even the vocabulary that you use, you got to make sure you're choosing the right words to elevate your energy and frequency. So in a day, studies show you have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And up to, if you have 80,000 thoughts in a day, about 80% of those thoughts can be negative. That's the way the human brain is wired. So my whole point in the book, when you talk about that, is how do we rewire our brains? How do we have habits that actually don't really allow us to have 80% of our thoughts to be negative? And when you get them, how do you literally snap them out of your brain so that you can choose the right thing? And that all comes down to my processes, which I share about how you structure your time, energy, and focus. So that you can set yourself up for success in how you allocate your energy on that, and what you're choosing to spend your time with, and how you're spending it, and who on that. So to me, it's winning the battle between the ears. It's not just for my pro athletes or world-class athletes or my people who are running, the executives who are running companies. It's about moms and dads who are dealing with kids who are in homeschool right now and are extremely frustrated. It's about all of our first responders and healthcare folks who are just absolutely dilapidated with energy and doing everything they can to save the world as well. How do we stay positive? And it's really, really difficult to muster up the energy. But remember, energy is manifested, it's created, and it starts with sleep. It starts with nutrition. It starts with your movement and quality of training, and then down into your habits. So I talk about habits in that chapter as well. Things like reading, reading great material, listening to programs like your Summit, Elizabeth, who's the interviews that you have on here. Folks, listen to all of them. They're of great value. Listen to podcasts. One of the reasons why I created my podcast a year and a half ago, 143 episodes deep now, is to put out more inspiration, motivation, so that if I can get in your head, that's now 30 plus minutes, potentially, sometimes 3 minutes, whatever it is, of just good motivation, right? It's all the old Zig Ziglar. Motivation's like brushing your teeth. You got to do it every day. So you got to fill the mind up with good stuff every single day.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that one. I think those affirmations make such a difference in our life. I have my daughters do the same affirmation. And actually, I got it from you, Todd, by the way, because I know you do that ritual with your kids at night. And
Yep.
so I started that about 2 years ago with them, where at night after our prayers, we say, I am strong, I am amazing, I am this, I never give up, I do my best, all that, because I'm not going to be there with them forever.
That's right.
I want them to know that they are all that, because there's going to be moments in their lives that are going to come and going to try to knock them down. And I want them to get back up with those.
Always. Yeah, no, that's comes from 18 years ago when my first son was born. I'm not sure where I got it, but I had the idea of creating a mantra every night after prayers. The last thing they went to sleep was, they always said that I'm so happy I can do anything, and I love I say Luke, Brady, and McKenna. They say mom and dad. I'm so happy I can do anything, and I love my Luke, Brady, and McKenna. We're the Durkins. We always do our best, and we never give up. Last 18 years, we say that every single night. And my hope with that mantra, just like you would memorize scripture or a favorite verse or a favorite quote, is that someday when they're contemplating about quitting or giving up or something, is they remember that what's been imprinted in their mind for 18, 20, 25 years, whatever, is that I'm so happy I can do anything, and I love my mom and dad. And we're the Durkins. We always do our best, and we never give up. So it's that mantra that you create a family creed, That was a simple one that we could, do on a regular basis. So I would encourage anyone, if you have kids, heck, even yourself with a spouse, is when you pray at night or you want to say something, is just what's your little 1 sentence, 2 sentence, 3 sentence thing you want to say, that it's your reminder about your commitment, about your sacrifice, about your love for each other.
Like ending your day right. It really is. And even inspires your mind to be like, yes, I know I am great. I am amazing too.
Hey, if you don't remind yourself, no one else will. So you might as well do it yourself.
Even when I do my coaching at the end, you got this, guys, or the band, like, we got this, Elizabeth, you got this. You're strong, Elizabeth, you're strong. Like it's in that.
Any coach in there right now listening in is laughing, because half the time you're coaching, you're talking to yourself. So when I say get your mind right, I'm talking to myself half the time. Like, get your mind right, get your mind right. I have a little slang when I say it to myself, get your mind right, get your mind right. Let's go. You got to go. You got to win today. Get your mind right. There's people who are counting on you. We got to roll. So it's that mindset of, but guess what? When you're talking to yourself and you share that with others, they resonate with it because they're saying the same thing to themselves. Yep. So that's being really authentic with who you are, is realize you're not alone in what you're saying to yourself, in the self-talk. So if you need to clean up your self-talk, because the self-talk that you have isn't real positive, because there are a lot of people who beat themselves up with the self-talk, and they're not good enough. They're not smart enough. They're not good looking enough. They're not have enough money. All the stuff that we beat ourselves up with, change it. You got to change the self-talk. You got to make sure you have language. And if that means you listen to a podcast, you listen to a motivational video every day on repeat, a song. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I listen to NF on repeat. Listen to the same song. And like, next thing you know, you start like bobbing your head, tapping your foot. Next thing you're like, let's go. You get that phone up and you're like, yoo-hoo, yeah, you know who it is. Then you just start going. I'm getting fired up again.
You see, let's go. Yeah, that's something that I do say before we switch it up. But for my students through this whole pandemic, even beforehand, when I was having these just moments in myself too, right? And I'm like, don't give up on me. Not right now, guys. Don't give up. Come on. And it was like me telling myself, no, Elizabeth, you can't quit. You got to keep on going. And it's just those affirmations, that we have to continue giving ourselves. But I have another question for you. So, dun. So, you are just a powerhouse. You are very aligned and very centered in every area of your life, your mind, your soul, body, everything. Absolutely admire that about you. And it comes through even in our conversations and everything that you do, Coach. Has there ever been a point in your life where you dimmed or you hid something about you that you weren't able to unleash, or you were just too, I don't want to say embarrassed, because it's not embarrassed, it's just dimming and hiding from the world, that now you've unleashed out to the world as your whole transformation, your journey, anything that you're like, I wasn't comfortable enough to.
Right. I feel like I've always been congruent with what people see as who I am. And I've never felt like I had to put up a false bravado or facade to get something that I was desiring. I guess the biggest thing, as social media has evolved over the last few years, I don't know if it's a social media thing or not, even just in my speaking, my public and motivational speaking that I do, I think the one thing, and I never hid behind it, but it was so personal, I never really shared it as much, I would just say, is my faith. Probably is in the last, I'd say 5 years or so, I've worn not only my emotions on a sleeve, but I certainly have shared my faith unequivocally and openly when people ask, or if it comes out in how I speak. I used to just, it was very personal. I was like, am I going to rub people the wrong way if I say that? And honestly, even when I wrote Get Your Mind Right, came out again, June 2020, which I started writing that in my last knee surgery, 2018. We had the outline of this book done, and the publisher said, there's something missing. Something's not, there's something that needs to set this apart. And together we came up with, I wasn't going deep enough in my own faith that needed to come out in the book to truly make it authentic to who I was. And in chapter 9 of my book, called Tap Into Your Whispers,
Yes,
that's where I get as deep and personal with my faith as I ever have publicly, because I always have been of the mindset is I'm going to live my life the way that God wants me to live my life, and people who are going to see me, I'll be a reflection to the man that I am on the inside, and that's how I live my life. But to that point, I also verbally now, when someone asks, or the way it comes out is, I am a man of faith, and I don't quote hide behind that. This is who I am, and this is what makes me who I am. And these are the gifts which I have, and here's how I live my life. And there are people who are going to be attracted to that. There are people who are not going to be attracted to that. And I'm okay with either one, because if I'm living my purpose, just like each and every person should be living their own purpose, if I can inspire, for me, what I hope to be 10 million plus people in my lifetime, then my purpose has been fulfilled. And when I walk and hopefully side straddle hop the pearly gate someday, God's going to say to you, well done, good and faithful servant. And those are the words I need to hear to get the affirmation that I want and desire to live the life that I need to on this place called Earth.
I love it. And it shines through. And even through this whole pandemic, when you were starting to do, I believe, was it the GNS?
The GSD, the God Sized Dreams program,
There you go. No,
and the Good News Network, the Good News Network,
Good News Network.
every
And
day,
oh
91 days, I think it was.
oh my God. And you started doing some prayers in the morning. I believe it was in the morning. I don't think you did it at noon, but it just really allowed us just to step back, breathe, and listen and
Mm-hmm.
meditate and pray, whatever everyone decided to do, right? But just really be there and present in the moment. And
Mm-hmm.
you allowed us and carved that space for us to do that. It was like a safe haven place where it was comfortable enough for us to be there and listen. And I appreciated that. I can't even tell you,
Mm-hmm.
Coach, what it did to my mindset and my soul and my spirit during
Well,
that
thank
time.
you, Elizabeth. It's interesting because I know it's hard to find sometimes the gratitude in the last 9 months or so, but there are some things that have happened that have been very beneficial for many people, including things like that. There's been a lot more prayer time by many more people. There's been stronger community in some ways, with people coming together and finding ways to serve each other. Um, Sometimes I think on my walks pre-December 5th is it interesting? Perhaps all of this is God working in a miraculous way to kind of recalibrate the world, because
Mm,
could we keep on going at the pace we were going? I'm not sure. Things were happening so fast all the time, and it's like the pace, the warp speed that we're running around to accomplish these things. Is this attainable, and is this a good thing? Sometimes I wonder, like, maybe this is God's way of slowing everyone down to get more in touch with him, so that we can pray more, we can eat together more as a family.
mm,
We could be slowed down enough to really think about, what do we want out of our lives? What's the purpose of our lives? And if we do these things, then we're going to be ultimately what we all desire: happier and more fulfilled. End of the day, we all want more happiness. We all want more fulfillment, right? Those are the things that people desire on their final days. So maybe in a weird kind of a way,
mm.
this has offered people the opportunity to slow down and to think about what's really important in life. And as we start to speed up again, because we will have the opportunity to speed up again, like 2021, we will be going again, and we'll be able to get back to things eventually here to where we quote want to go. But hopefully we can take the things that we've learned throughout the pandemic and structure our time and our lives where it's going to allow us to prosper energetically, spiritually, mentally, as well as physically.
I agree. And it's stop controlling and surrender and letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Surrender
True.
and letting go. Coach, thank you so much. Before we end, I love asking this question. What is your definition of a bulletproof mental toughness, of a bulletproof mindset, of a bulletproof life? What is your definition of that?
Well, bulletproof mindset is this. I'll preface it by saying this: a bulletproof mindset, or a get your mind right mentality, is not one where your mind is always right, or that you're going to be always 100% fortified where your mind is always right. A bulletproof mentality is one where when you get knocked down, you don't stay down.
Mm,
When you get knocked down, you ultimately get back up. And as long as you get down, knocked down 8 times, you get up 9, that's cool. Don't get knocked down and knocked out. So you got to dial into the habits, all of the habits, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically, the habits that will ultimately allow you to prosper. And to me, that's the get your mind right mentality. That's a bulletproof mentality that you keep going and you keep staying in sync with your divine purpose. And when you do that, that's a bulletproof mentality.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Seriously, so blessed to have you here. Coach, if everyone wants to get a hold of you, if they want to stay connected with you, what are your handles? Where can they link up with you? And I'll put it also on the notes so everybody knows, but just so they can hear it.
Best way to get a hold of me would just be ToddDurkin.com is my website, and social media at Todd Durkin. And if you go to Instagram at Todd Durkin, but ToddDurkin.com, and of course the podcast is the Todd Durkin Impact Show.
Yes, it's amazing. Again, if you guys are not following Todd, you should, and he will get your mind right. Again, guys, thank you for joining us today, for listening, for really listening with the intent to listen and capture Todd's heart. Again, if no one has told you that you are amazing, that you're a badass, and you're kicking ass at life, we are telling you that you are. Keep doing what you're doing. Remember, this is your life. You're the CEO of your own life. Go ahead and take it. And remember, it begins and ends in our mind. Thank you so much, guys. And also, the Durkin Impact Foundation, don't forget, there will be a link there. Hit donate or even just share whatever we can do to help out. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you, Todd.